Deep in the frozen forests of North America, there's a legend that doesn't just warn you about monsters, it warns you about yourself. The Wendigo comes from Algonquian folklore, described as a towering, skeletal humanoid with sunken eyes, stretched skin, and limbs far too long to belong to anything human. It's said to roam snow-covered woods during the harshest winters, when food is scarce and survival pushes people to their limits. But what makes the Wendigo terrifying isn't how it looks, it's what it represents. According to legend, the Wendigo is born when a person commits cannibalism out of desperation. The moment they cross that line, something inside them breaks. Their body twists. Their hunger becomes endless. No matter how much they eat, they're never full again. The Wendigo grows taller and thinner the more it consumes, as if the hunger itself is stretching it out. It's not just a creature, it's a punishment for losing your humanity. What's unsettling is that this legend doesn't stay safely in the past. In the early 1900s, doctors documented something called Wendigo psychosis. People living in isolated, freezing conditions began experiencing an overwhelming fear of becoming cannibals. Some claimed they already felt the change happening. They described cravings they didn't want, thoughts that horrified them, and a sense that they were no longer fully human. In extreme cases, people begged to be restrained, or even killed, before they could turn. Even today, hikers and hunters tell stories that sound uncomfortably familiar. Figures seen pacing them between trees, shapes that stand impossibly tall against the snow, footsteps that don't quite match human strides. Some say the presence doesn't attack. It follows, watches, waits, as if it's measuring how hungry you are, how desperate, how close you might be to becoming something else. That's what separates the Wendigo from other monsters. Vampires hunt blood. Wolves hunt prey. The Wendigo hunts weakness. It feeds on isolation, starvation, and fear, the exact conditions the wilderness creates when you're alone and running out of options. It's the idea that the real danger isn't the forest, it's what the forest can turn you into. And maybe that's why the Wendigo still lingers in stories today. Not because it's out there stalking the trees, but because, under the right conditions, it could start inside someone. Because the Wendigo doesn't just hunt bodies, it infects minds. The rake isn't an ancient legend passed down through centuries. It's something much newer, and that somehow makes it worse. Stories about the rake began surfacing online in the early 2000s, but they didn't come from one place or one person. They appeared independently, scattered across forums, message boards, and personal accounts from people who had never spoken to each other. Different countries, different languages, same description. A pale, hairless humanoid that moves low to the ground and only shows up at night. People who claim to have seen the rake describe waking up for no reason at all, that uneasy feeling that something is wrong before you even open your eyes. When they do, it's there, crouched in the corner of the room, perched at the foot of the bed, or standing impossibly still in a doorway. It doesn't breathe loudly, it doesn't growl, sometimes it doesn't move at all. And that silence is what makes it terrifying. It's not acting like an animal, it's watching. The descriptions are disturbingly consistent. Long arms bent at unnatural angles, fingers that look more like claws, a head that tilts slightly as if it's curious. Witnesses say its eyes don't glow, don't blink, and don't look away, not even when you notice it. Some say it smiles. Others say its mouth never opens. Either way, the message feels the same. It wants you to know it's there. What's especially unsettling is that the rake rarely attacks. Instead, it leaves people with something worse: certainty. Survivors report long-term anxiety, insomnia, and the feeling that they're still being watched long after the encounter ends. Some say the rake returned years later, standing closer each time. Others claim they only realized it was real when multiple family members described the same thing, without ever talking about it first. Skeptics say it's just sleep paralysis, a shared hallucination, the brain filling in the dark with fear. But that explanation doesn't sit right with everyone. Sleep paralysis usually traps you in place. Many rake encounters don't. People sit up, scream, run, and still see it, still remember it clearly. Maybe that's the most disturbing part. The rake doesn't need to hurt you to win. It doesn't kill you. It makes sure you know it exists. And once you've seen it, every dark room feels different. Every time you wake up in the middle of the night, you hesitate, just long enough to wonder if something might already be watching you back. Far south, beyond shipping routes and tourist maps, there's a stretch of ocean so cold and isolated that even sound seems to die there. It's in these Antarctic waters that Japanese submariners have reported something they still struggle to explain. They call it the Ningen, which simply means human. And that name alone should tell you how wrong it feels. The Ningen is described as massive, pale, and humanoid in shape. Not a fish, not a whale. Witnesses say it has a head, arms, and a torso-like body, sometimes with hands spread wide beneath the water's surface. At first glance, it looks like an iceberg, just another floating slab of white in a frozen sea. But then it moves, slowly, deliberately, against the current. And suddenly, what you're looking at stops making sense. What gives these stories weight is who's telling them. These aren't late-night callers or blurry beach photos. The reports come from trained naval observers, people whose lives depend on accurately identifying what's in the water. Submariners are taught to recognize ice formations, shadows, whales, and debris instantly. When multiple crew members describe the same thing, using the same unsettling details, it becomes harder to dismiss. Some say the Ningen surfaces just long enough to be seen, then slips back beneath the ice. Others claim it swims alongside vessels, its pale form visible just under the water, as if it's matching their speed. No aggression, no attack. Just presence, just observation, in a place where humans aren't supposed to exist at all. Scientists will tell you it's probably a misidentified iceberg, a rare whale, or light refracting through ice. And maybe they're right, but that explanation falls apart when you hear how often witnesses mention the same thing. That unmistakable outline, the shape of shoulders, the suggestion of a face. The moment when your brain insists you're looking at a person, in waters cold enough to kill one in minutes. That's what makes the Ningen terrifying. Not that it might attack you, but that it looks like us. Something shaped like a human, living comfortably in an environment that would destroy us almost instantly. If it's real, it means there's a form of life down there that doesn't just survive the abyss. It belongs to it, and the ocean has a habit of hiding the things that don't want to be found. Long before streetlights and locked doors, England's countryside had a name parents whispered to keep children close to home: Blackanice. She wasn't a ghost or a fairy tale villain meant to be defeated. She was a warning, a blue-black, hag-like creature with iron claws, said to live in hollow trees and deep caves where the sunlight never quite reaches. And once you knew her name, you were already too close. According to old folklore, Blackanice would wait in the woods, crouched inside ancient oak trees or stone dens carved into hillsides. At night, she'd come out hunting, not roaming wildly, but patiently, watching paths, listening. Children were her favorite targets, especially those who wandered too far or stayed out too late. Villagers said she'd snatch them away, dragging them back to her lair before anyone could hear a scream. What made the stories truly horrifying wasn't just that she killed, it was what she did afterward. Blackanice was said to flay her victims and wear their skin like clothing. Sometimes she'd drape it over herself. Other times she'd hang it outside her tree like a trophy. Parents told their children that if they heard scratching on bark or metal scraping stone, it was already too late. Some historians think Blackanice may have been more than just a monster. In rural medieval England, disappearances were common and rarely explained. A dangerous predator, an outcast living in the woods, or even a now extinct species could have inspired the legend. Over time, the truth may have been reshaped into something more useful. A story terrifying enough to keep children alive. And that's the unsettling part. Blackanice wasn't meant to be entertaining. She was practical. Her legend functioned like an alarm system, passed down through generations. Don't wander into the woods. Don't trust the dark. Don't assume you're alone just because you can't see anything watching you. Today, her name has mostly faded into folklore books and footnotes. But the woods she haunted still exist. Hollow trees still creak at night. Caves still echo with sounds no one can explain. And once you know the story of Blackanice, it's hard not to wonder if the legend survived because something real once needed a name. After all, children were warned for a reason.